Hello everyone, we are the group number 6 and the members are Melanie, Loor, María José Moina, Diana Mosquera, Karol Abigail, Martínez, and Danna Panchi. So today we'll explore four influential theories in second language learning. Correction monitor model emphasizes the importance of natural communication and comprehensible input, constraining with the coder's error analysis, which sees learned errors as a key evidence of how language develops. We also look at the latest contrastive analysis, which predicts learning difficulties by comparing the first and second language unlike two other theories that focus more on internal process. Finally, Chomsky universal grammar proposes that the all learners rely on native linguistic principles, setting it apart from the experience-based views of Krashen, Coder, and Neto.
Stephen Crusher's monitor model explained how the second language acquisition was through five hypotheses. First, it distinguished between acquisition, which is self-concision, and learning, which is concision. Second, the monitor hypothesis states that learned knowledge can only edit or monitor what we acquire. Third, the natural order hypothesis shows that grammar is learned in a predictable sequence. Fourth, the input hypothesis emphasizes that students need comprehensive input just above their current level, which he calls E plus 1. Finally, the affective filters hypothesis highlights how motivation, anxiety, and attitude can block or facilitate learning. Compared to other theories, Corder focused on student errors. Ladon contrasts between language and Chomsky on innate universal grammar. Krashen's model is unique because it integrates both psychological and social factors with linguistic theory.
Good evening, Magister. My name is Melanie Loor, and today I'm gonna talk about the error analysis theory. So it was proposed by Stephen Corder in 1967, and it says that many mistakes happen for other reasons, such as misunderstanding a rule, learning something new, or using an incomplete in-between language called interlanguage. So Corder explained that errors are useful because they show how learners are developing their language, and he differentiates between an error and a mistake. An error refers to a systematic error due to lack of knowledge, and a mistake refers to a performance error that can be self-corrected. So this method helps language teachers see if a mistake is a real error because the student doesn't have the knowledge or is just asleep. Here also we had this comparative chart when we compare this theory with other theories. So, for example, contrastive analysis says that most mistakes come from the first language. The monitor model error thinks that correction is minimally effective. And finally, the universal grammar theory is a innate theory of language in contrast with this theory that is a theory that talks about the process of acquisition to learn a second language.
Hello everyone. In this section, I will explain contrastive analysis proposed by Rovelato and briefly compare it with the ideas of Krashen, Corder, and Chomsky. Rovelato started by comparing a learner's first language and the target language. We can predict which areas will be easy and which will be difficult. Similar structures create positive transfer, which help learning, while different structures creates negative transfer or interference. Explaining common errors such as omitting the subject in English, saying is raining instead of it is raining. Now, compared with other theories, Krashen focuses on comprehensible input and sees errors as a natural part of acquisition process, not only as interference. Corder, from the error analysis perspective, view errors as evidence of development, showing how learners build their internal language. Finally, Chomsky emphasized universal grammar, meaning that humans have an innate capacity to learn language, so the role of L1 is minimal. In summary, Lado explains learning difficulties through L1 and L2 comparison, while Krashen, Corder, and Chomsky explain errors and development from cognitive and innate perspectives. Together, these theories help us understand how learners acquire a second language. Thank you.
Good evening, teacher. My name is Mosquera. I'm going to talk about the Universal Grammar Model by Noam Chomsky. This was proposed in 1957. So, this model states that humans are born with an innate language acquisition device in the brain. Basically, children hear limited and imperfect input, yet they master the complex grammar structures in little time. So, that's basically when we are wired to learn a language, which is the main focus of this model. Now, let's compare it with the other models. First of all, universal grammar emphasizes the biology and innate knowledge in the learner. Now, compared to the monitor model by Krashen, this emphasizes the input and affective factors. So, emotions are very important in this model. What about the error analysis by Corder? In this model, it focuses on analyzing errors after they occur. And finally, the contrastive analysis by Lado. This focuses on prediction before learning begins. Now, what about the similarities? The similarities with the monitor model by Krashen is that both say that conscious learning is limited. With the error analysis by Corder, both say that errors are a natural part and they are very useful for learning a new language. And finally, the contrastive analysis by Lado. This states that both parts of the language are useful. For example, the language one is important, so both acknowledge the importance of the first language of the learner. Thank you. After all this analysis, we have concluded that the four theories show that second language learners are always creative constructors. For example, Lado predicts difficulties from the language one. Corder sees errors as positive evidence of learning. Krashen insists on comprehensive input and low anxiety for learners. And Chomsky reminds us that we are biologically rewired with universal grammar to acquire any language. Together, all these models prove that successful language 2 acquisition needs both nature like innate ability and also nurture the input, motivation, and intelligent teaching. So basically, the learners are creative constructors of their knowledge. Thank you.